2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I should be live. Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being. Welcome to Universal Peace Television. So, this is part 2 of this broadcast, list of pandemics caused by vaccinations, and Italy approves illegal mandatory vaccine program 2 is the title of this broadcast. The previous broadcast was cut off and also had many dropped frames like this one. They may be doing these dropped frames, so if you know how to get rid of these dropped frames, I'll display capture right here. We see the dropped frames are now 8.5% of this broadcast. So what I wanted to show, perhaps it's best if I start with it. Colloidal silver generator comes with 0.999% fine silver electrode for $9.97 plus $5 shipping. Essentially it's the same thing as these more expensive ones. 8 times silver colloidal silver generator with 2 feet of 99% fine silver. This might be a bit more usable, but it's $37.95, so you can get a colloidal silver generator pretty cheaply, and you have to use probiotics, replace the good bacteria of your gut. Your gut needs bacteria to digest food, and bacteria are killed by silver, deader than a hammer, so that's why. And it's better to take colloidal silver than the killer vaccines. The list of pandemics caused in my previous broadcast proves this beyond any reasonable doubt. And I've made clear that the government is criminal. They use scientists to lie about these things to depopulate the earth. I've given the example of the MIT lying about the fact that aluminum foil blocks the cancer, cell phone radiation, microwaves are blocked with a factor of 300 times less cancer UMTS radiation behind the aluminum foil than in front of it, which you can measure with a cheap microwave measuring instrument. Now they're about $125. Microwave meter. They used to be 450, for example the gigahertz solutions HF35C. So the MIT are lying about this to depopulate Earth, and the directed energy weapon attacks are not done with these microwaves, cancer, cell phone radiation. 1 in 2 people will get cancer during their lifetimes. 1 in 2. It's 1 too many if you ask me. So here we see a microwave leakage radiation detector, but you need one that measures it in microwaves and in the frequency range that these cancer cell phones operate. And then a good one is about 125. There's one from Japan, it must be somewhere. This one, for example, and this one is, you can make a best offer, so probably you can get this for 125 or so. I think this may be a good measuring instrument. Can it demodulate the signal? (50 MHz to 3.5 GHz frequency range). This may not be able to demodulate the signal. So you cannot hear the signal and recognize what it is. or record the signal in audio as audio. And the other one the HF35C can demodulate it, so you can hear the signal. Perhaps I can demonstrate that. So there's about 0.3 microwatt per square meter of radiation, and it's a reasonably high pitched frequency you hear. So that's what it sounds like. Then I'd need a microwave device basically to transmit radiation. And you can use a cancer cell phone for that. But I've made another video in which I demonstrate with aluminum foil that it shields, aluminum foil shields the microwaves very well actually. And I've demonstrated it with a cancer causing LAN, local area network. So it's best to use a cable and an air cleaner with an ionizer, and shield yourself by putting the foil on the wall or on the outside of a head. So they have a whole program to pretend that these people are paranoid if they protect their brains against cancer cell phone radiation, which causes lumping red blood cells, which is a reproducible test you can do yourself. It causes cancer on the side of the brain where they kept their cancer cell phones against their head, as shown in the MRIs, and it causes DNA damage, okay? And people lie about this to depopulate the earth and make a fortune, trillions of dollars with cancer cell phones, and of course the phone, the abonnement in Dutch, they have these cancer cell phones, they have a provider that they have to pay the cell phone companies, basically KPN and others. You have Lyco Mobile and the 666 logo, Vodafone, I think, etc. Which are blood drops 666. I've covered that in my previous broadcasts as well. So let's see if this one can demodulate the signal. I think it's the same thing that we just saw, but a different housing. It's the same button structure. Well, there's also another one that's pretty good. Ooh. Well, these are more expensive than I thought. Perhaps I can fix it, and this can show the frequencies on the screen basically. But it's just cancer cell phone radiation, not the wireless energy they use to do their directed energy weapon torture attacks. So for that it's useless. You cannot prove with it that you are being attacked with directed energy weapons. So the excipients, that's the ingredients of these killer vaccines, also prove that they are harmful, and they're not as harmless as they'd like to pretend, to depopulate you all with them. So that's a satanic inversion. They simply pretend of things that are harmful that are harmless, and vice versa, that the things that are harmless are harmful. So trust no one, I think, is what it seems. And I've covered the list in my previous broadcast, so that's a must view. You can just click on the video and then visit my channel. I can visit it like this. Here's the list of pandemics caused by vaccinations. Okay. And I was reading this thing when the broadcast was interrupted. Oh, I wanted to check where it was, at what point it was interrupted, what caused it. I gave this broadcast another name. But this is the live version that we're watching now, I think. So then perhaps this is the one that was cut off. I've clicked on now and then it should load. But it's a bit slow because I'm broadcasting live. Greetings. Let's do another one. So it cut it off much earlier. So that's done with wireless energy by these Jesuit pedophiles that have demolished the WTC. They want to depopulate Earth to 500 million to create a global government. A totalitarian global government. So they have demolished the WTC, the Jesuit World Wars, and they've tortured 50 million innocent people to death in their Inquisition. They did Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then they came out unscathed at ground zero, as if it was a miracle of the Virgin Mary, etc. So their military order posing as a religious order famous for their pedophilia, because they've paid more than 200 million in these pedo cases of the priests having sex with boys, etc. And it's been reported they have to eat an infant as part of the initiation. They are synonymous with Skull and Bones, John Kerry's two-state solution world war. But at the moment the Iran threat might be bigger again if Iran refuses to allow inspections that could lead to a world war. So I hope they're not producing any nuclear weapons like they claim, and that or that they can just remove any traces of that and allow the inspections. Okay, so oh yeah, then I wanted to read this. It seemed it was cut off during the reading of this part, but now I saw that it was cut off at an earlier point, so that I don't know what part they've erased exactly. Let's read this part. It's pretty interesting. Let's go. Oh, the mic is slithered down to the 4th position or so.
Ebola is an antibody-dependent virus, which means that the infection spreads faster in people with more antibodies that are not Ebola antibodies. Ebola is spread nosocomially, in and through hospitals. The main lies of the mainstream media and CDC to create a global Ebola pandemic for their master, Ted Turner of CNN, who advocated a population reduction with 95%, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are, 1. Ebola is not airborne. Ebola is airborne, otherwise it could not have spread the way it did. Professor Eric Roger Bianca advocated using airborne Ebola, not Ebola. Furthermore, it has mutated fast, so they cannot know if Ebola is airborne. 2. Closing the borders of infected countries would make it worse. An obvious vicious lie, because keeping infected people in the country would prevent them from traveling to other countries and infecting other people. Letting infected people travel to other countries would infect people in other countries for sure, because they are often misdiagnosed, and people that do not show symptoms of Ebola can still infect others and become sick, which is clear from the Eric Duncan case. Isolating people instead of quarantining them, locking healthy unprotected people up with Ebola patients will get them infected for sure. 3. The WHO and CDC are going to kill 7 billion people with their slow kill vaccine. It is clear to anyone with half a brain they are now creating a global Ebola pandemic by keeping the borders of infected countries open, pretending it's not airborne, and reducing their symptoms list so Ebola cannot be distinguished anymore from thousands of other diseases with the same symptoms. For a fourth way, the CDC, WHO and committee of 300 members under the Jesuit infant eaters are creating this pandemic is with faulty Ebola tests and by blocking the new, effective test. For another year, colloidal silver has been successfully tested at the UCLA medical labs, where it killed every virus on which it was. Greetings, superior being, greetings, supreme beings. Welcome to Wiki, the Ebola Pandemic Prevention and Survival blog. Make colloidal silver flyers and spread them at the airports. The only way to prevent a global Ebola pandemic. Think about it. You could also stick a red setter because 7 billion lives are at stake. The flyer can contain the message, colloidal silver has been proven to effectively kill Ebola and its mutations by the DoD's STRA, Strategic Threat Reduction Agency, and UCLA. The CDC has lied that the virus is not airborne, and the other vicious lie of the CDC is that closing the borders of infected countries that would prevent Ebola carrying people from traveling abroad would make things worse. Because the borders of Ebola-struck countries are not closed to migration, and the CDC is pretending Ebola is not airborne despite the fact that many healthcare workers that wore hazmat suits got infected. The only way to prevent a global pandemic is making everyone take colloidal silver, the only Ebola cure. CDC Director Margaret Chan and George Soros are a committee of 300 members, the subversive body of the Club of Rome, which has planned to kill 7 billion people with slow-kill brain-eating and thus zombifying vaccines, which were Google search number 1. These slow-kill vaccines contain nanotechnology of which the long-term effects have never been tested, lipid nanotechnology and TK minutes Ebola, which is possibly self-replicating nanobot technology such as the T4 bacteriophage, which is designed to lobotomize people to reduce the world's global population in violation of the Genocide Convention. Why are many of these Ebola vaccines rabies-based? Because rabies has a mortality rate of almost 100% once it is injected into the patient. More info about the DoD's can plan 8888, which designates U.S. citizens as enemy combatants which are shot at by Talon robots and predator drones during home quarantines, is found on my blog. Google the words Wiki, WIX, and the word Ebola with the letter G attached to it, Wiki. Spread this flyer or sticker as fast as possible to prevent a global Ebola pandemic, because the death rate of the Ebola virus increases exponentially. The real threat is the vaccine, not Ebola, which is effectively killed by colloidal silver. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, the Ebola rabies chimera. Download this website with Website Copier 1.0 and save it to CD-ROM as evidence. Knowledge equals power. Complan 8888. This is not satire. The Onion produced a satirical video made in Congress about a classified airborne resolution. Airborne Ebola. Obviously, the makers must have had permission from Congress for this. Another satirical site reported about HARP, destroying people's trigonocephaly, their brainstem. So they are pretending that things that are really taking place are meant as satire. They want to inject everyone with slow-kill rabies-based vaccines that turn people into zombies. Some of these vaccines also contain self-replicating nanobots, lipid nanotechnology, designed to lobotomize everybody to depopulate to 500 million. After people have received the slow-kill vaccine, which would be administered at gunpoint after their designed global Ebola pandemic has taken shape and a global level 6 pandemic has been declared, they will become zombies, or rather lobotomized people that exhibit symptoms of rabies, which will be in the vaccine to turn these people into what the DoD calls zombies in their Complan 8888 document. A nanozombie on my doorknob. We must expose this before it goes viral. Important. People that have taken colloidal silver cannot become zombies unless they take their vaccine, which is rabies-based and has self-replicating nanotechnology in it to turn people into zombies. The T4 bacteriophages are designed to eat their brains, and the rabies-based ingredients are designed to turn these people into aggressive monsters that attack and eat their fellow humans. So, people that have taken the slow-kill brain-eating zombifying vaccine cannot be helped and are shot. BFSA, Blue Force Situational Awareness. Colloidal silver is a potential cure for them, but not if it does not kill the T4 or other types of bacteriophages in the vaccine. People that have taken the vaccine will become zombies in the sense of Complan 8888. People that have not taken the slow-kill vaccine cannot become zombies because it kills the airborne Ebola Lassa rabies virus that turns people into zombies. Extremely aggressive, literally brainless people starve to death by the home quarantines that would eat your flesh. People that have taken colloidal silver cannot be infected by zombies and cannot become zombies if they do not take the slow-kill vaccine at gunpoint. Survival Strategy 1. Shoot the people that will come to force vaccinate you to death. 2. Take their blue transponder, identity and weaponry, take control. Infiltrate and radiate. 3. Shoot the zombie soldiers, and take over, take control to end and prevent a zombie virus apocalypse. This is possibly the only way to survive for 7 billion people. All of this can only be prevented by letting everyone, especially travelers, take colloidal silver. If you do not carry a blue transponder, the Talon robots and drones will shoot at you when you leave your home quarantines. CBFSA, Blue Force Situational Awareness. As soon as this is global and a pandemic level 6 is declared, the inoculation with the deadly vaccines will be mandatory. The vaccines contain 1. A zombie virus, rabies-based, that will turn people into extremely aggressive people mislabeled zombies by the DoD that knows colloidal silver is the only mutating Ebola chimera cure. 2. Self-replicating nanobots, lipid nanotechnology that is designed to lobotomize people and of which the long-term effects have never been tested. The genocidal companies that produce this have illegally been granted legal immunity for this nefarious purpose. The CDC's strains, 1 FEMA trains to transport people to the FEMA camps and cadaver boxes bought by the CDC. 2 patented Ebola strains, Ebola Bundibugyo and others that have been released that may not be patented. A rabies Ebola chimera and an airborne Ebola Lassa chimera chimera, also known as hybrid virus. They will pretend it has mutated while in reality they have designed and released these viruses. It is stoppable, we already know that, so they pretend it's unstoppable to kill you all and themselves if they are brain controlled to the max. Colloidal. Spread the information as rapidly as possible to save your own life and the lives of your loved ones. Why does an Ebola vaccine have to be rabies based? It's so unknown. Walking Dead is possible with self-replicating nanotechnology but very unlikely. Rabies Ebola vaccine. Fuck tyranny. How many zombie vaccine nations? The Ebola deception. Vaccine agenda fully exposed. WTF. Ebola zombies? Untested Ebola, rabies vaccine to be unleashed on the public? Wake up. GSK owns Caros, where the Ebola vaccine program started 6 years ago. U.S. Bioweapons Lab in Sierra Leone at the epicenter of Ebola outbreak. Don't forget Bill Gates' stake and role in this Ebola vaccine agenda. CDC, Gates OWNS patent on Ebola. Pentagon Zombie Plan. Pentagon document lays out battle plan against zombies by Jamie Crawford, CNN national security producer. May 16, 2014. Washington, CNN, never fear the night of the living dead, the Pentagon has got you covered. It has also devised an elaborate plan should a zombie apocalypse befall the country, according to a Defense Department document obtained by CNN. In an unclassified document titled CNOP 8888, officials from U.S. Strategic Command used the specter of a planet-wide attack by the Walking Dead as a training template for how to plan for real-life, large-scale operations, emergencies and catastrophes, maintain emergency plans to employ nuclear weapons within the continental United States, to eradicate zombie hordes. Edition.cnn.com. Some say vaccines can be a DNA manipulator or modifier. Keep this in mind while reading this. Researchers find gold nanoparticles capable of unzipping DNA. http://news.nxu.edu/2012/06/WMS Miljko DNA/ Ebola vaccines based on established rabies vaccines may turn vaccinated people into zombies. Additionally, NIH and the Thomas Jefferson University are collaborating to develop a candidate Ebola vaccine based on the established rabies vaccine. cdc.gov/VHF/Ebola/outbreaks/2014 West Africa/QA experimental treatments.html. Nothing forces you to kill your shrink, doctor or leader. Complan 8888 Unclassified Headquarters United States Strategic Command Stratcom Complan 8888 11 Counter Zombie Dominance 30 APR 2011. 9. Assumptions. A. U.S. and allies will have the situational awareness necessary to conduct all counter-zombie dominance operations in this plan. B. Zombie forces will become stronger with each human casualty, because each human casualty will become a zombie. 9. Assumptions. A. U.S. and allies will have the situational awareness necessary to conduct all counter-zombie dominance operations in this plan. B. Zombie forces will become stronger with each human casualty, because each human casualty will become a zombie. CAP Crisis Action Planning Sir Commander's Critical Information Requirements CDR Commander COP Common Operational Picture Deport Deployment Order Fragort Fragmentary Order GFMAP Global Force Management Allocation Plan J3 Operations Directorate of a Joint Staff J5 Plans Directorate of a Joint Staff JTF Joint Task Force A Plan Operation Plan Apport Operation Order POLMIL Political Military RFC Request for Capabilities RFF Request for Forces Road Rules of Engagement Rough Rules on the Use of Force Site Trap Situation Report Warning Order, I. CV Number 1 Individual Healthy Humans, 11,111. The IHH is the single most important factor shared by all the COGs, CCs, and CVs in this plan. COG, continuity of government instead of continuity of society because they want to kill 7 billion people. There is no continuity of society plan, only a continuity of government plan. A zombie outbreak can affect thousands of IHHs in the span of minutes. Ironically, given the consideration that zombie outbreaks in human hosts cannot possibly last longer than 40 days, because human hosts require food and water to continue functioning, there may be times when IHHs will be forced to abandon other IHHs who are unable to evade sources of zombie contamination. Ebola vaccines based on established rabies vaccines may turn you into a zombie, exposed and thus prevented. Copy and paste following info. http://ulrichkaufman.wix.com/ebolag http://www.youtube.com/watch V equals 3 IV0. Arrest the CDC and WHO members that illegally blocked a shipment of colloidal silver, which is murder. It is an attempt to commit genocide because one Ebola-carrying patient can potentially kill all of us, and colloidal silver has been proven to kill Ebola by the STRA, and the test is easily reproducible with their patented Ebola strain. 3 ways to prevent the planned genocide. 1. Arresting the people that have created the pandemic by injecting Ebola into African people. The people that light it is not airborne, and the people that keep the borders of infected countries open to create a global pandemic. 2. Making everybody take colloidal silver and kiwi, vitamin C. 3. Closing the borders of infected countries to travel abroad and exports of possibly contaminated food and other products. The only way to prevent a global and national level 6 Ebola pandemic and consequent forced inoculation by the military with a slow-kill self-replicating nanotechnology vaccine, T-Cayman's Ebola, is making everybody take colloidal silver, which effectively kills the Ebola virus and mutations of it because of its mechanism of action. This is the only way if the people that have done everything in their power to create a global pandemic are not arrested, and they are not going to close the borders of infected countries. They have released 2 strains, one of which is airborne, the Ebola Lossatec Mara Camara. This is also why the amount of infected people that died from the Ebola infection has changed from 55% to 70%. The other strain is deadlier, but it's both Ebola. The CDC cannot know if it's airborne because the virus is mutating fast and adapts to our DNA. A chimera is the deadliest bioweapon, a hybrid virus that may also be a binary weapon, deadly when combined with something else that is harmless by itself but deadly when combined with ingredients of the vaccine. For example, Ebola is an antibody-dependent virus, which means that the infection spreads faster in people with more antibodies that are not Ebola antibodies. Ebola is spread nosocomially, in and through hospitals. The main lies of the mainstream media and CDC to create a global Ebola pandemic for their master, Ted Turner of CNN, who advocated a population reduction with 95%, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are. 1. Ebola is not airborne. Ebola is airborne, otherwise it could not have spread the way it did. Professor Eric Roger Bianca advocated using airborne Ebola, not Ebola. Furthermore, it has mutated fast, so they cannot know if Ebola is airborne. 2. Closing the borders of infected countries would make it worse. An obvious vicious lie, because keeping infected people in the country would prevent them from traveling to other countries and infecting other people. Letting infected people travel to other countries would infect people in other countries for sure, because they are often misdiagnosed, and people that do not show symptoms of Ebola can still infect others and become sick, which is clear from the Eric Duncan case. Isolating people instead of quarantining them, locking healthy unprotected people up with Ebola patients will get them infected for sure. 3. The WHO and CDC are going to kill 7 billion people with their slow-kill vaccine. It is clear to anyone with half a brain they are now creating a global Ebola pandemic by keeping the borders of infected countries open, pretending it's not airborne, and reducing their symptoms list so Ebola cannot be distinguished anymore from thousands of other diseases with the same symptoms. 4. Fourth way, the CDC, WHO and committee of 300 members under the Jesuit inventors are creating this pandemic is with faulty Ebola tests and by blocking the new, effective test. For another year, colloidal silver has been successfully tested at the UCLA medical labs, where it killed every virus on which it was tested. A researcher at Brigham Young University sent colloidal silver to 2 different labs, including UCLA Medical Center, and reported it not only killed the HIV virus but every virus that was tested in the labs. How does colloidal silver work? According to medical journals from around the world, it disables the particular enzyme that one-celled bacteria, fungi and viruses use for their oxygen metabolism. Colloidal silver commingles with the blood and enters the cells to seek out and destroy harmful organisms. It suffocates them in 6 minutes or less after initial contact. This phenomenon was recently demonstrated in tests at UCLA Medical Lab. Trace amounts protect and strengthen the immune system. There will not be a safe country if this goes global. Buy a colloidal silver maker and sell and spread it voluntarily to the max number of people to prevent their planned global Ebola pandemic. Do not take their zombifying vaccine. Take colloidal silver to prevent a global pandemic and force deadly inoculation. Spread this idea exponentially. Rabies is a viral disease that causes acute inflammation of the brain in humans and other warm-blooded animals. The period between infection and the first flu-like symptoms is typically 2 to 12 weeks in humans. Incubation periods as short as 4 days and longer than 6 years have been documented, depending on the location and severity of the inoculating wound and the amount of virus introduced. Signs and symptoms may soon expand to slight or partial paralysis, anxiety, insomnia, confusion, agitation, abnormal behavior, paranoia, terror, and hallucinations, progressing to delirium. The person may have hydrophobia, fear of water. Why does the Ebola vaccine have to be rabies-based? Almost all human cases of rabies were fatal until a vaccine was developed in 1885 by Louis Pasteur and Émile Roux. Once visible symptoms have developed, the mortality rate of rabies is almost 100%. netdoctor.co.uk/travel/diseases/rabies.htm. New virus in Africa looks like rabies, acts like Ebola. NBC News Sep 27 2014 http://vitals.news.com/underscore news/2012/09/27/1412757. New virus in Africa looks like rabies, acts like Ebola. Yes, we can take colloidal silver. The people that are going to have to inject everyone may be getting the same deadly shot. They are going for a population reduction to 500 million. Zombies on CNN. You must be fucking kidding me. Number they are all zombies. They are all controlled. CIA. Project Mockingbird. CIA controls minutes as minutes. Nothing going on. Everything going on at the same time. Whatever. Making everybody take colloidal silver is the only way to survive. Because otherwise it will become a global pandemic and people will be injected with deadly, slow-kill rabies-based Ebola vaccines that turn people into zombies and nanobots that cause heart attacks and brain bleedings. Lipid nanotechnology. The vaccine cannot be effective because the virus is mutating fast and may even infect people who take it, which has happened many times before. See the list of pandemics caused by vaccinations. The official Pentagon document lays out battle plan against zombies by Jamie Crawford, CNN national security producer. May 16, 2014 makes it extremely likely that the rabies-based vaccines will turn people that take the shot into zombies in the sense of the Department of Defense's Plan 8888. Especially the fact that there are prominent people that advocate a population reduction in violation of the Genocide Convention and creating a crisis big enough to be able to force an end-of-life torture world order upon the people makes this even clearer. Transparency. The nano-death chippy. The president on Thursday signaled his openness to the idea to have one individual coordinating the entire federal response to any threat of an outbreak in the United States. Ron Klain claim. White House appoints an Ebola czar, the two-way, NPR, Jesuit-trained Ron Klain, Georgetown University, go figure? Klain was born on August 8, 1961 in Indianapolis, Indiana to Jewish parents. He is a member of the Daybreak Boys Band. He graduated summa cum laude from Georgetown University in 1983. In 1987, he graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School, where he was one of several to win the Sears Prize for the highest grade point average in 1984-85. Obama surrounded by Roman Catholic, Jesuit-trained intelligence leaders, CNN, but a ban might actually make things worse, Thomas Frieden said, which is of course a repulsive lie to create a global pandemic rather than prevent one, because it could encourage people to lie about their travel to West Africa, he said. If the borders are closed to migration of people and possibly contaminated products, the virus cannot spread globally because the infected people and products are kept inside the country. The goal is, of course, preventing a global pandemic, not preventing people from lying about where they travel. It is irrelevant compared to the threat of a global Ebola pandemic. Letting people travel to infected countries can only get these people contaminated. It cannot save them from becoming contaminated like colloidal silver does. The CDC and WHO are lying about these facts to reduce the world's global population, Committee of 300's goal. Margaret Chan and George Soros are Committee of 300 members, and to make a fortune of selling faulty slow-kill vaccines of which the long-term effects have never been tested. And without that crucial information, Frieden said people infected with Ebola could slip into the US without the CDC being able to track and monitor them for symptoms. If you do not close the borders of infected countries, of course they will travel all over the globe. One traveler can potentially kill us all because it's mutating fast, and the long-term effects of the zombifying lobotomizing vaccines have never been tested, and companies have illegally been granted legal immunity because colloidal silver has been proven to kill the Ebola virus effectively even by the DoD's own STR Strategic Threat Reduction Agency. Simple facts: check. Test everything you learn. Recovery begins with non-compliance. Because people that carry the virus may not show any Ebola symptoms, screening them is not a way to rule out the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. Mortality rate 55%, now 70%. 2 Ebola strains were released. See Zeitgeist 77 for more info. We need an anti-vaccine movement, an anti-CDC movement, an anti-genocide movement, an anti-Nazi eugenics movement. And unite with movements that are anti-democide that help expose the trolls that want to kill us all with slow-kill vaccines. To spread the idea of taking colloidal silver to as many people as we can, especially people at airports. Stewardesses and stewards, pilots and people traveling out of Ebola-struck countries are strongly advised to take colloidal silver, which effectively kills the Ebola virus as proven by the STR report also found on my blog. Disease. The seat, who careless? If everybody does not use colloidal silver, we blow up blah blah blah. The WHO and the CDC and others could work together, but if that's not enough, then they may have to nuke the zombie. Okay, we could send flowers to the CDC for doing such an awesome job. Mail is checked for anthrax etc., but not for Ebola, I bet. Who do I send this letter to? Make colloidal silver flyers and spread them at the airport. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, the Ebola rabies chimera, clinical trial, cliniclown trial, 2 kills, Ripit nanotechnology, put picture of blue transponder online, BFSA, exclusive, military to designate U.S. citizens as enemy during collapse. Jules Skusen, Army document reveals citizens to be treated as enemy combatants. InfoWars has discovered new FEMA documents that confirm information received from DoD sources that show military involvement in a FEMA-led takeover within the United States under partially classified continuity of government (COG) plans. It involves not only operations for the relocation of COG personnel and key officials, population management, emergency communications and alerts, but the designation of the American people as enemies under a live military tracking system known as Blue Force Situational Awareness, BFSA. Friendly military and FEMA personnel, along with their contracted employees and those of other federal agencies, will carry transponder ID badges, like those described here, to designate their blue inclusive status. As our military sources have confirmed, under the Blue Force Situational Awareness, BFSA, all other American citizens and civilians are designated under the red category and treated as an enemy or potential unfriendly. Throughout his past investigative work, including witnessing numerous military drills, Alex Jones has also witnessed the technology and the use of this alarming code, branding ordinary Americans as battlefield enemies. The plan includes drone and other high-tech tools to monitor and target individuals designated under the enemy status. The military's Blue Force tracking technology has been adopted since 2003 in Iraq and used in theaters like Afghanistan to quickly distinguish blue friendlies, including U.S. forces and allies like tribal forces, from red enemies. However, on the U.S. homeland battlefield, it is the American people who will be designated under red, whereas cleared occupying personnel are tracked as blue friendlies by their ID transponder badges. The designation was set up to reduce friendly fire incidents. When people are home quarantined during a pandemic, people that leave their homes without a blue transponder are shot at by drones and Talon robots. This is now a possible scenario. The blue transponders of the military are transponders like these, according to organicnsnet.wordpress.com/tag/Blue Force Situational Awareness, made by Microwave Monolithics Incorporated. The GPRS, Global Personnel Recovery System, card is a miniature, fat credit card size, lightweight, high efficiency, long battery life, satellite communications transceiver engine common to all next generation and user equipment. GPRS is a joint civil, DoD initiative to develop and deploy the first global, near real-time two-way communications and tracking system capable of fully supporting Joint Blue Force Situation Awareness, JFSA, and Personnel Recovery, PR, Search and Rescue, SAR, operations among many other worldwide applications. It is seamlessly interoperable across agencies, with 24 separate government agencies already involved, including our allies in the United Kingdom, and enables the emergency communications desperately needed today by disadvantaged isolated personnel such as downed pilots, dismounted soldiers, and other personnel often in hostile and or dangerous situations on remote parts of the Earth. The Micro PLBTM is a premium COSPAS C/S, personal locator beacon, PLB, which serves as a 911 equivalent signaling device providing worldwide coverage via multiple satellites without user fees. The CS system is monitored 24 hours a day 365 days a year by 66 ground stations spread over 40 participating countries. When the Micro PLBTM is activated due to a life-threatening emergency, these monitoring stations will immediately notify appropriate rescue personnel of your identity, location, and need for assistance whether you are at the North Slope of Alaska, Antarctica, or anywhere in between. The Micro PLBTM Type GXL is just slightly larger than a king-size cigarette pack, 1.1 x 2.3 inches x 4.75, and, at 8 Oz including internal GPS receiver and 121.5 MHz homing transmitter, it is by far the smallest, lightest, and most dependable PLB in the world. Unlike all other PLBs, it is 100% tested and fully burned in, and is CS certified for 48-hour operation using batteries approved by the U.S. For carriage on all commercial carriers. Department of Transportation, can plan 8,888 cubate but could.pdf, make colloidal silver flyers and spread them at the airports. You could also stick a red etcetera because 7 billion lives are at stake. Download this website with website copier 1.0 and save it to CD-ROM as evidence. Knowledge equals power. SyntheticTelepathy.com Google, Wixeboag.
So I'm looking for my list of reasons why the vaccinations should stay voluntary and may never be made mandatory. But the main reason is you have a right to physical integrity, and I disagree with martial law plans that take the right to physical integrity and the right to a lawyer away. That's called habeas corpus and posse comitatus. So I think that martial law is an illegal law and that should never be implemented. And it's best to go to a safe place if things like that go down, to a safe country if possible. This is the list of reasons to keep vaccination voluntary and prevent mandatory slow kill vaccination at gunpoint, which is another one of the depopulation plans.
Reasons to keep vaccination voluntary and prevent mandatory slow kill vaccination. 1. The 3 vaccines that are available contain up to 3 types of segments of Ebola but no Ebola Bundibugyo segments, which may be the patented virus they are using to reduce the world's global population in violation of the Genocide Convention. 2. The Ebola virus has mutated terribly, so it is unlikely the vaccine will stay effective if it would be effective at all. 3. It is possible that vaccine contains genetically altered strains with an incubation period that is long enough to kill 7 billion people worldwide with mandatory slow-kill Ebola vaccines. 4. The pharmaceutical companies have been granted legal immunity so people cannot press charges if they die from the vaccine within a year. 5. It is clear there are several people that have called for a population reduction with airborne Ebola, for example, that have made clear they want to reduce the world's global population to 500 million, which is public and open incitement to commit genocide, a clear violation of the Genocide Convention. We therefore urge readers to press charges against these individuals as soon as possible to prevent a global Ebola pandemic democide. 6. The vaccine may contain other slow-kill ingredients such as mercury, renamed thimerosal, which causes brain neuron degeneration. 7. If the vaccine would be effective, then vaccinated people cannot be contaminated by people that have not been vaccinated, so there is no valid argument to make vaccination mandatory. There are only arguments to keep vaccination voluntary. Chemically sensitive people like me may never be injected with vaccines that have genetically altered or chemical ingredients in them because it would be murder. 8. The right to physical integrity is the most important right people have, and every law that undermines people's right to physical integrity is an illegal law and obviously made to reduce the world's global population in violation of the Genocide Convention. Mandatory vaccination is a direct violation of people's right to physical integrity. 9. The list of pandemics caused by vaccinations makes clear vaccines are not safe and life instead of deactivated viruses ended up in vaccines several times, which killed the people that received the vaccine. universalpeace.edublogs.org. The Department of Defense's scientific study shows colloidal silver kills the Ebola virus effectively, including mutations because of its mechanism of action. 11. 10 leading experts have said no Ebola drugs nor vaccines are needed to stop the Ebola outbreak. Source: New York Times. All in all, there is no valid reason to inject people with dangerous, untested vaccines because colloidal silver is effective and natural. Vaccinations. Life is really hard and in the end we fall apart. Life is really hot and everything is energy, so in the end we become eternal like DOD. Only you can make a version of this blog without stupid jokes made by the DET with synthetic telepathy. Oppose it, next ID. Exposed and thus prevented. Recovery begins with non-compliance. Ulrich Kaufman wix.com/ebolag homepage.pdf Ulrich Kaufman wix.com/ebolag homepage.pdf Ulrich Kaufman wix.com/ebolagr.pdf Ulrich Kaufman wix.com/ebolagr.pdf Warranty of. Visit universalpeace.jimdo.com 999 Prologic 999.blog2blog.nl universacreator.weebly.com doctuaerno.wordpress.com for universal peace.
This is some art I made at that time, that I collected at that time. I mean, I didn't make these wonderful pictures. Lucifer or Obama van it. Okay. Well, I think this is the best one. Also videos. So this is loads of stuff about it if you ever want to check something. I just don't like the search option that I've added. So the videos have to load, takes a while. Oh yeah, I was having that blow up palm tree. I had to blow it up. But now I have a better one. Because the air seemed to go out of there basically. So I had to blow it up regularly. Yeah, well, this is all pretty interesting. My previous broadcast is a lot better because it has that real list of pandemics and epidemics caused by vaccinations. And it's quite fast to read it, so I can put it in this one as well for all the others.
List of pandemics and epidemics caused by vaccinations. In 1871 and 2, England, with 98% of the population aged between 2 and 50 vaccinated against smallpox, it experienced its worst ever smallpox outbreak with 45,000 deaths. During the same period in Germany, with a vaccination rate of 96%, there were over 125,000 deaths from smallpox. The Had-1 documents. In Germany, compulsory mass vaccination against diphtheria commenced in 1940, and by 1945 diphtheria cases were up from 40,000 to 250,000. Don't get stuck, Hannah Allen. In the USA in 1960, 2 virologists discovered that both polio vaccines were contaminated with the SV40 virus, which causes cancer in animals as well as changes in human cell tissue cultures. Millions of children had been injected with these vaccines. Med Journal of Australia, March 17, 1973, p. 555. In 1967, Ghana was declared measles-free by the World Health Organization after 96% of its population was vaccinated. In 1972, Ghana experienced one of its worst measles outbreaks with its highest ever mortality rate. Dr. H. Albonico, MMR vaccine campaign in Switzerland, March 1990. In the UK between 1970 and 1990, over 200,000 cases of whooping cough occurred in fully vaccinated children. Community Disease Surveillance Centre, UK. In the 1970s, a tuberculosis vaccine trial in India involving 260,000 people revealed that more cases of TB occurred in the vaccinated.
So when we search on colloidal silver, in the first results we see 4 pictures of the same blue man that used that coin. It's called Algeria, and at least he's still protected against these viruses. But the point is that it's a natural mineral that your body needs, in reality silver, and it's better than dying of these designer viruses also spread in their cancer chemtrails. and it's more effective than antibiotics, and wet wound healing is the best way to heal wounds in reality, and people are brain controlled. So they're gonna ridicule you and lie to you if you tell them the truth about it. So it's a heavily suppressed cure, like cannabis, which you can also eat to expand your consciousness instead of narrow it down with the killer alcohol, tobacco and caffeine. So these results are manipulated. We're not just seeing colloidal silver sellers, but negative stories about silver. And it will not make you blue if you have a good quality silver. So there are millions of people that use it, also very good looking healthy people and doctors, and it's good to prevent yourself from getting these nasty diseases, also for doctors. And some diseases are airborne, of course. Is this guy blue as well? You're not blue enough. Plus when not to use. So you definitely need probiotics if you use colloidal silver. Probiotics. The 10 best probiotic supplements. To replace the good bacteria in your gut killed by the silver. And I'd rather use silver than die of tetanus. But some people are programmed and they will not listen to reason. They will not look at the reproducible studies they can do. For example, these lumping red blood cells you get after using a cancer cell phone for 90 seconds, and the study of the DOD that shows that colloidal silver effectively kills the Ebola virus deader than a hammer or something completely dead. Okay, let's read some more.
Than the unvaccinated. The Lancet, December 1, 1980, p. 73. In 1977, Dr. Jonas Salk, who developed the first polio vaccine, testified along with other scientists that mass inoculation against polio was the cause of most polio cases throughout the USA since 1961. Science, April 4, 1977 abstracts. In 1978, a survey of 30 states in the U.S. revealed that more than half of the children who contracted measles had been adequately vaccinated. The People's Doctor, Dr. R. Mendelsohn. In 1979, Sweden abandoned the whooping cough vaccine due to its ineffectiveness. Out of 5,140 cases in 1978, it was found that 84% had been vaccinated 3 times. BMJ 283 to 696 697, 1981. The February 19, 81 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association found that 90% of obstetricians and 66% of pediatricians refused to take the rubella vaccine. In the USA, the cost of a single DPT shot had risen from 11 cents in 1982 to $11.40 in 1987. The manufacturers of the vaccine were putting aside $8 per shot to cover legal costs and damages they were paying out to parents of brain-damaged children and children who died after vaccination. The Vine, Issue 7, Jan. 1994, Number, QLD. In Oman between 1988 and 1989, A polio outbreak occurred amongst thousands of fully vaccinated children. The region with the highest attack rate had the highest vaccine coverage. The region with the lowest attack rate had the lowest vaccine coverage. The Lancet, September 21, 1991. In 1990, a UK survey involving 598 doctors revealed that over 50% of them refused to have the hepatitis B vaccine despite belonging to the high-risk group urged to be vaccinated. British Med Journal, January 27, 1990. In 1990, the Journal of the American Medical Association had an article on measles which stated although more than 95% of school-age children in the U.S. are vaccinated against measles, large measles outbreaks continue to occur in schools and most cases in this setting occur among previously vaccinated children. JAMA, November 21, 1990. In the USA, from July 1990 to November 1993, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration counted a total of 54,072 adverse reactions following vaccination. The FDA admitted that this number represented only 10% of the real total, because most doctors were refusing to report vaccine injuries. In other words, adverse reactions for this period exceeded 500,000. National Vaccine Information Center, March 2, 1994. On November 2, 2000, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, AAPS, announced that its members voted at their 57th annual meeting in St. Louis to pass a resolution calling for an end to mandatory childhood vaccines. The resolution passed without a single no vote. Report by Michael Devitt. In the New England Journal of Medicine July 1994 issue, a study found that over 80% of children under 5 years of age who had contracted whooping cough had been fully vaccinated. Source: http://falseflagflu.com/citizen_info_and_action.html http://www.vaclub.org/sites/debate/web2.html Bad Medicine Salsa Democracy in Action Ingredients of the new soft kill vaccine. AIDS protein, GP120 mercury, MF59, aluminum phosphate aspartame human fetal tissue monkey kidney and lung cells monosodium glutamate gelatin formaldehyde man-made viruses bovine fetal serum squalene http://www.naturalnews.com/02694_vaccines_vaccination_health.html. They are also dispersing slow-kill vaccine ingredients in Ebola chemtrail fallout which is dispersed by cloudbusters. Oregon Pyramid said I tested to be effective. http://energygenerator.com/edit/index.php http://www.organizeafrica.com/english/organite pyramidal resin metal artwork.html. Universal, now.
So there are pretty cheap colloidal silver generators on eBay. You can also buy such a flask and stuff on there. Looks kind of cool. And I think I'm gonna have to eat something. Also having some stomach ache at the moment, which I can do with their high MEMS, their remotely controlled centipedes. So they're definitely real and they've shown me they can control them. So I'm sure there's a program to do this to me and other people. And millions of people have centipedes in their bodies. And also tapeworm, 25% of the meat eaters, according to Dr. Rio. You can see his YouTube videos also. And there are easy ways to get rid of the tapeworm, but not of the centipede. So I've been trying to get mainstream media attention to spread the knowledge about these 5 species that are deadly to humans, including the common house centipede, because they procreate in your intestine and they have no cure. And this is all scientifically documented, so I'm not making this up. These are articles you can also find on universecreator.weebly.com. I could show you that page also, but I don't want to go into that now. But make sure that you have mesh in front of the ventilation shafts of your house so that the critters cannot get in. And also do a bug check in your house, check behind the radiator and the closet, etc. if there are some deadly insects already in your house. They may also have ants with a chip inside, which I've covered also on that blog. Then I should show it. I shouldn't be lazy, but they're hurting my penis, so then it's harder for me to function normally. And they often attack the genitalia because people are reluctant to talk about it. It may also be, well, it gives the illusion or tries to give the idea that it's because of the way I'm sitting. And I've been sitting longer than an hour with the previous broadcast as well. So I'm standing up now, and well, here you can find more about the centipedes in my father's body and the satanic Jesuit cannibals, about their cannibalism and some other important information you all should know about. So this thing is just 1.7 centimeters. It's about 1/3 of the length of your pink, so it's a tiny little centipede. It looks quite big on the picture. Here you can see some of its yellow venom, which is practically completely harmless. You're more likely to die of tetanus of their bites than of their venom, which you would need liters of to kill a human being with the lithobius forficatus venom. Anyway, these may be high MEMS, so they may have a little tiny nano chip. I don't know if you'd see that under a microscope, but it's tiny, and it may be in its head if they are controlling them with this. So this may be a DARPA creation, like the nano fly modeled after the lowly blowfly. So yeah, here is what is documented pseudoparasitism of Myriapoda in humans. It's called centipedes in humans. That's why most people don't know that they enter the human body. So I want to cover these 5 species in the mainstream media, something with a lot of views, to warn people that centipedes may be deadlier than humans think, that they are at least pseudo-parasites, and I claim they are real parasites because my father also contracted these centipedes after sleeping one day in Tienhoven. And the strange thing is, when we went back to catch one, there were no centipedes in Tienhoven, but now here in Mijdrecht I found one, and I've experimented on it to find its eigenfrequenz, also its resonant frequency. Basically everything has its eigenfrequenz, mortal oscillatory rate frequency, but I did not succeed yet. So I also urge people to experiment for themselves on these centipedes, to catch a few of them and then experiment with frequencies to find out which frequency is deadly to them, and then you can put them back in nature or do with it whatever you want to. So I claim these are parasites deadly to humans. They see you as a prey, as their prey, and they parasite upon humans and animals, and dogs and cats also have these critters in their bodies, and that's why they have these markings in their feces, in their poop, in the shape of these centipedes. It's really gross, horrible, horrifying. That's why people don't like talking about it, thinking about it, and that might be why, one of the reasons why there is no cure. But I think they have a program officially. These are, for example, not insects, so if you call them insects then you're wrong. And scientists can say you're not in the know about things they supposedly know. So here we see these documents. 54 cases by 1953, and it describes centipedes in humans that were also avoided from their body when their number became too big, so that may not indicate that they found a way to get them out. So if they have no cure, then the only way is using its eigenfrequenz or surgically. And I've made a video covering these 5 species, including the common house centipede, that enter your body and procreate in your intestine if they get the chance. And that can be prevented by doing a bug check and getting the mesh in front of the ventilation shafts every house has. So one is spreading awareness for the deadliness, about the deadliness, the harmfulness of centipedes, of which many people claim they're harmless and think they are harmless, so they are convinced of the lie themselves, thus endangering their own life and the lives of their fellow humans. But many of them may be in on it. So people have a natural aversion because of evolution. They are horrified by centipedes and they have a fear reaction when you keep these insects near their body, basically. So there's a reason people are horrified by these insects, and some people pretend they're not scared and stuff, and some have eaten them and died of insect eating, live insects, on YouTube, which is also gross. I wouldn't want my girlfriend to do such a thing. Anyway, hygiene has nothing to do with it, but the two things I want mainstream media to help me with is more important: warning about 5 species that have entered humans, including the common house centipede, and finding a cure, creating a cure for other people that have contacted me about these centipedes. So we really need a cure, and I give a €150 reward for anybody with a successful cure to rid my and my father's body of these fucking centipedes. Whether they are remotely controlled or not. If they are remotely controlled, they're fucking with my voice at the moment, which is annoying. Then they could take them out. And perhaps they do that if I help to bring about their world war and depopulate Earth to 500 million successfully. But I will expose it and prevent it, and I hope they are caught so that then their centipedes can be taken out of my body. Of course, it's illegal to do this to me because I attempted to press charges of incitement to commit genocide against people with the book quotes that prove they want to depopulate Earth. So if I'm going to talk more, then I can also pack another pipe. So they are not the real resistance, though they're followers. Among the followers of Alex Jones, we may find people that are real resistance to the depopulation wars and the poisoning of the world's global population, also through GMO food. So boycott Monsanto companies, including Unilever, so that they cannot grow. And boycott, remember to boycott other companies you want to boycott. Stop supporting them financially. To influence your timeline, get a better timeline and become eternal and live happily eternally, which is possible because everything is energy. So I hope Alex Jones or the mainstream media contacts me about this. Or that they do an item covering that centipedes are harmful because they're parasites, so they enter your body and procreate in your intestine. If you sleep in a house where there are 2 or more centipedes present, they usually travel in pairs and they put their spermatophores in webs. The book The Biology of Centipedes by J.G.E. Lewis is a good one. I've tried to contact him, but I haven't found his email address, so if anybody knows the email address of J.G.E. Lewis, of the author of the book The Biology of Centipedes, then I would be most grateful. I'm looking for a cure, of course. There must be a way to get these critters out of our bodies. And other people have contacted me, some of them were misdiagnosed by their doctors as well. And the strange thing is that the doctor refused to analyze the yellow sticky poison in my poop, which would prove that there are centipedes in my body of the type Lithobius forficatus, which I know because I've seen one behind my left eyelid as well. And despite catching several of the centipedes, they've labeled me a delusional parasitosis patient. Would you believe it? Though of course it's clear when patients show you the insects they've caught that it cannot be a hallucination. So that's weird as well. So in other words, the doctor is an accomplice to murder. And I don't want to press charges, I just want these critters out of my body. And I think pressing charges would not help with that, though I can prove in court beyond any reasonable doubt that there are centipedes in my body by comparing the yellow sticky poison feces, the venom, poison in my poop, in my feces, by analyzing that and comparing that to the Lithobius forficatus venom, and then you can see that it's definitely Lithobius forficatus venom. So I'm horrified by this. Last night I puked again. Spaghetti. So sometimes, because of this, because of the centipedes in my stomach, I sometimes have diarrhea and I throw up at the same time. So then you need a bath or to go outside if you don't want your whole house to be messed up. So there are several purposes for their hybrid insects, and it's usually part of their smear campaign. Nobody wants sex with somebody with centipedes in their body. And it's more painful than getting your teeth tortured out one by these fuckers. And it's a Dutch speaking either neural network or person. And I've explained that I think that Bilderberg has more to do with that, because I was locked up in this orange cell, an orange cell of de spoor, spoedeisende psychiatrische opvangruimte in Amsterdam. This is a picture of their orange cell. It was totally orange, the walls as well, and the door. So if I would have resisted and stuff, then they would have kept me there, and then I would have been, they would have claimed that I would be a psychiatric patient, a psychotic or paranoid person. And the fact that I lived by myself for a number of years, I had 2 girlfriends and stuff, and that I never did anything out of the ordinary or strange or weird. during all that time also makes clear that I'm probably normal. I studied at the University of Amsterdam, and I know I'm normal. And of course, otherwise they would have given me some drugs, etc. if I would have been a danger to myself or others, like these people depopulating the earth. So advocating global government is treason to whatever country you're in. And the US citizens have taken an oath to protect the country against enemies, foreign and domestic, and people that want to get rid of the US to create a global government are their enemies, of course. They're enemies of the US, and they're guilty of treason for that reason. They want to flood the countries with immigrants to create a crisis big enough to impose their totalitarian regime upon the people. And the committee of 300 members, George Soros and Margaret Chan, are also in on that, of course. I've covered the committee in previous broadcasts. And the 6 Jews that want to depopulate the earth, and others like Ted Turner of CNN that are also in on that, as well as the shitload of Jewish people working for CNN. And you could argue, to bring unbiased news, they must represent the people, and the amount of Jewish people in our country, in most countries, is quite low. Then if you have 90% of your personnel being Jewish, that makes clear that it cannot be unbiased. But I'm not some anti-Semite that's for gassing all the Jewish people and or killing all Muslims and stuff like that. It leads me to the Genocide Convention, that basically this is democide and it's aimed at the group humans in general, not particularly the Hutus or Tutsis or any other group. But I think it is incitement to commit genocide in the sense of the Genocide Convention. I've covered this in my previous broadcast as well, and otherwise there are other laws, because killing one person is illegal already, let alone exterminating 7 billion people or getting rid of them some other way. We should be aiming at creating a cure against aging, controlling these 23 factors that control aging, not at depopulating ourselves. And we're all the human race. Though we're not direct family, direct kin, we are one family, you could argue. So yeah, I wrote a World Peace Agreement to several presidents as well, and I got a letter back from the British Ministry of Defense, but that's not what I want to cover now. And I think I'm first gonna eat something, and then I might make another broadcast. So this is more about cannibalism and Satanism of these popes, the Vatican. So they have what they call the Black Pope and the White Pope, because they have a satanic inner core and they're satanically controlled, and it's expressed in the white and black robe basically of the Pope. And I've covered this in my previous broadcasts. This was also really interesting in the Unicura Ultra. These they're not buckyballs, but what do they call them? sort of mesh that other nanobots can cling onto. But I don't know if it is that, but this is what it looks like under a Bresser microscope with a USB ocular that you cannot connect to Windows 10, only Windows 7. That's also weird that I have to double click on F before it moves there. Okay. Anything else that I need to cover? This may also have some other info. That article is from 2007. But it's just a historiological overview of the pandemics caused by vaccinations. Graphical evidence shows vaccines didn't save us. When men differ, both sides ought equally be heard by the public, for when truth and error have fair play, the former is always an overmatch for the latter. Truth being the overmatch. Truth is winning. Hurrah! Historical facts exposing the dangers and ineffectiveness of vaccines. So that's all stuff that people can study. So I've explained that there are scientists lying about these things to depopulate Earth, and to be aware of that and expose it and take countermeasures to their depopulation measures to survive. And trust no one, nothing is what it seems. Recovery begins with non-compliance. So you can also buy it online if you don't want to buy a generator, but they're quite cheap on eBay. That's the same principle. So it may be just as good as an expensive silver generator. The silver puppy that I started with has reversible polarity, so the polarity reverses, and that is creating a better silver according to the people of Miso Silver, which I've also tried, but you shouldn't buy it in plastic bottles, it's better to have it in glass. So yeah, that's it for now for this broadcast. I could have put myself on already a bit earlier. My new necklace from eBay. Pretty cool. It's pretty heavy. So I like to look cool and yeah, making America great again. What is it about? I think it also has to do with ending the war. That lots of people that voted Trump would like to see an end to war, and that money channeled to things we really need, perhaps a better road or a wall or other things that they think are good for the country, for the citizens of the US that have also helped with charity and like the Dutch. And sometimes their help is not real help, it's more help to depopulate them rather than to really cure them and make them better and wealthier. So if there's anything happening that I should know about, please Skype Prologic999. And perhaps I'll do another broadcast later today. And thank you all for your likes. Likes are appreciated. And it's more important to spread the info and make your own cloudbuster and stuff like that. And it's just better to have that radiological water filter and storable food, because accidents happen, etc. And according to Alex Jones, there's a missing nuke, and they can also attack these nuclear facilities, etc. And then you may need that radiological water filter. That's the first thing, because people need water regularly, otherwise they die. They can live a lot longer without any food than without water. Without water perhaps a day or two, and without food a month or so. So that's why we need clean water, and if it's contaminated then we will die from that. I've covered the BFSA, I've shown you their transponders also. So that means that you're shot if you go outside of your home quarantine for some reason, like Ebola or other things, chemical attacks of terrorists or whatever. And then you would need storable food as well, peanut butter and rice, because they want to depopulate also by controlling the food supply, which they plan to do with these home quarantines. And I've covered the other depopulation methods in my YouTube videos, and also the Apollo moon landing hoax, Apollo moon landing scam. Top 10 also of reasons that prove beyond any reasonable doubt, things that prove beyond any reasonable doubt that we never landed on the moon, or at least that the Apollo moon landings are fake. So let's stop streaming. 17,285 dropped frames, 9.8% of this broadcast. Perhaps I can find a way to improve that. For now, I say peace out.